Hello Model Railroaders, I'm Dave. Welcome back to the layout. Just a very quick video. I'm going to play around with a little bit of casting, both in making molds and in making castings from molds, using both the liquid plastic and Ultracal 30. So I'm going to use the OMO 25 as my silicone rubber mold making material, and the smooth cast 310 as the liquid plastic, and Ultracal 30 as the casting medium. Now I did run some Ultracal 30 through a few of my molds yesterday and pulled them this morning, and they're still drying. Some are stumps, and I really wanted to see how good the detail was going to be and how the air bubble retention, if it was going to show on the surface, even after trying my best just tapping the mold to bring the bubbles to the surface. Casting detail I find is very good in the Ultracal 30, though some of the air bubble issues were as you can see, there's a couple air bubbles just on the surface there. Not a real big issue of this tank, but you can see on the bottom, even as it's drying out, you can see the about 1/8 of an inch in is where it's still a little drier on the outside compared to the center, which is why I've kind of got them on a rack so that they can get air all the way around to continue drying. Same with the top. The detail, it pulled out pretty good. Not a whole lot of air bubbles on the side shell, though you can see two possibly just above my thumb, but I'm not horrendously concerned in that regard. I believe the casting, once a paint layer goes on, you won't really be able to see. The bottom will get sanded to make it level. This other casting, as you can see right here, that front access plate is actually beveled, and because the casting was green, it did break when I extracted it from the mold. I would not expect that to occur using the smooth cast 310. It will, once the liquid plastic is set up, it will hold that mold. To whether it be in Ultracal 30 or a liquid plastic, to remove any air bubbles, there's two options. One, you either put the mold and the casting medium under a vacuum to pull the air bubbles out of solution, or you put them in a pressurized atmosphere using a pressure pot. And that's what I'm working on right now, is taking a 10-liter paint spray tank and creating my own pressure pot. Others have posted numerous videos on YouTube. They're more dealing with adding resin to wood in the making of pen blanks and things of that nature, where I'm actually going to use it for the casting of the Ultracal 30 or the liquid plastic in shaped molds. So what I've got here is some scavenged parts from here and there. I've got a shut-off valve. I've got a regulator that will limit the tank pressure to 80 psi if my feed pressure is greater than 80 psi. That's what the tank is rated for. I didn't have a plug, so I just used a air port. I don't know what this little fixture is called, but you use it for as an end for adding air to a tire. So if I need a release, if I'm still connected to an air line, I can always stick a pen or a pencil in there and push that that inner section to release air. Or I've got the pop-off spring-loaded pressure relief valve that I can always pull by hand to release air. So there's no issues of having the tank exceed its design specifications. And this other port, I was able to get a plug to plug on the inside, so I won't have to worry about that open port there. So the lid's all ready to go. It's just a matter of I need to build a cradle so that the tank can be either placed horizontally, or if I want to use it upright as it is right now, I need to make some shelves so that the molds, and this is the biggest mold that I have for this bit of retaining wall. Sometimes it's nice being an N scale that things will actually fit easy, that if this was on its side, if I had a piece of wood as a shelf, I could have the mold in that orientation, or if I make some multiple layers of shelving, the mold can be in this orientation. So first thing I'm going to do is make a cradle for it. That way if I want to use it with the tank laying down, I'll be able to. I guess it comes down to how easy it is getting stuff in and out of the tank, and how permanent a location this tank is going to find when I do start utilizing it on a more frequent basis once it is operational. I will mention that if you're using the liquid plastic, that one of the parts does react with air. So you do have a life expectancy once you've opened the container, which is one of the reasons why I've not touched these since I've purchased them. I did have some resin that I had gotten from Micromark in where I made these molds all from, was that bit of kit that I purchased from them, and I had a little bit of the casting plastic still hanging around, and the one part had gone off, though I had probably about over half a cup of part A and part B, so I had a full cup worth of resin once they were mixed together. And I gave it a try. I knew it may not work, and it did not work well. It actually, well, I won't say it didn't work at all. The casting has, as you can see, been created, though it didn't get created as well as it should have. The casting bubbled up, which you can see is more in these little tank lids. As it cured, it started bubbling, which was not a good thing. Though I can probably salvage these pieces that you see here, my little crates. I'll be able to sand off the bottom and be able to paint them. However, whether I use the Ultracal 30 or the liquid plastic, moving forward, I'm going to start using the pressure pot that you just pressurized with compressed air. So an air compressor, load it up to 80 psi, and then just let it sit overnight to cure as far as the Ultracal 30 goes, and probably I would say 4 hours would more than be sufficient for the liquid plastic, depending on what kit you buy, because there is a certain time that it's liquid that you have to mix and add it to the mold, and then there's also a certain time on the curing before you can demold your part. So you definitely have to match what you're using against your time frame, obviously. So that's my next job, is making a cradle for this and making some layered shelving that I can place in it. The bottom is a rounded bottom, so nothing, it's pretty useless the way it is. I do need to make some layered shelving that the different molds, I can do multiple mold pours simultaneously, and then load them in and pressurize the pot up and then just let it sit. But just to give you an idea of what I'm wanting to do moving forward, I want to do make some casts of different lumber that I want to have at the sawmill and at the loading area up on top of the mountain. I'll call it a mountain. It's a very flat mountain, but on top of the plateau that I want the visual idea that it's a very busy location within the layout, both at the lumber mill and at the logging camp. So that's something I want to make multiple castings of. And the spool here, the crated wire spool, I also want to make castings of. These go on center depressed flat cars, and I really like my center depressed flat cars for the different varieties of loads that can be utilized on them, and that's a load that I like the look of. So we'll have a go at fixing that base to the spool, and so that there's no places where the silicone can get between them, and try casting that as one piece so that I can maintain the side and the back and front detail of this bit. So just a quick look at what's coming down in the future, or at least in the immediate next few videos. We'll be dealing with casting both in Ultracal 30 using the silicone rubber molds, and using a liquid plastic to generate castings. Till the next video, bye for now.